Tonight, a rallying cry from doctors protesting a new law aimed at revamping Quebec healthcare. The compensation legislation causing turmoil.
This is a very important point of rupture in terms of our relationship with the government.
Why some argue the system muzzles physicians and could drive them out of province. Plus, access denied.
It felt like a bit of an abuse of power.
Why this woman trying to visit her grandparents says she was refused entry into the U.S. And entertaining the troops here at home.
I know that it took some relief out of their concerns.
The crucial role this performer played to offset wartime tension.
Take me out to the ball game.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. Canada's ailing healthcare system front and centre today at a massive demonstration in Quebec. Thousands of doctors denouncing a new law in that province that changes their compensation structure. It's aimed at overhauling the medical system, but as CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Bushman reports, doctors fear it will inflict widespread damage.
Thousands of Quebec doctors packed what's normally the home of the Montreal Canadiens. They're facing off against the government over Bill 2, the province's law overhauling physicians' pay and work structures. An all-doctor band providing the soundtrack to a rally that brought generations together. Medical students, residents, family physicians, and specialists united to denounce the law they call authoritarian dangerous. Internal medicine specialist Dr. Daniel Cobb followed his father's footsteps into medicine.
We want the system to work. We want it to work. But the way they're going about it is only going to de-incentivize doctors from actually stepping up and making it work.
Quebec invoked closure in late October to pass the law, its remedy to Canada's most overcrowded ERs and long surgery wait lists. The law ties a percentage of a doctor's salary to performance targets and pays family doctors a fixed sum per patient visit. Doctors here say it will simply drive away those practicing in Quebec.
C'est pas une loi pour construire, c'est une loi pour brimer.
Dr. Lionel Ange Pongui resigned as head of obstetrics and gynecology at a hospital in the Outaouais region. He's now considering practicing next door in Ottawa.
So Law 2 was billed as something that will help access. In fact, Law 2 is breaking our system. It's breaking our doctors.
250 doctors have actually applied for an Ontario license over the last 2 weeks. Compare that to just 19 applications from June to October 22nd. 70 applied to New Brunswick.
So if doctors leave the province, they're going to be even shorter than they were before. Wait length times are going to increase.
And those at the rally say it's time Quebec starts treating patients and doctors with a dose of respect. And the doctors vow to continue to fight a law they say simply hurts an already ailing healthcare system. Geneviève Bushman, CTV News, Montreal.
The healthcare system in Alberta also in the spotlight. Contract talks between the province and the union representing nurses and hospital workers continued this weekend, with the two sides still far apart.
Some of our members have to, because of the shortage of staff, have to constantly be working 7 days in a row, sometimes 3 weekends in a row.
Roughly 16,000 nurses and healthcare aides employed by Alberta Health Services voted 98% in favor of a strike. The union could issue a strike notice as early as November 17th. The province is offering a 12% wage increase over 4 years. Emergency room wait times also a major problem across the country. One patient shares her life-threatening experience later in the show. Liberal MPs are set to spend the week selling the federal budget. The latest pitch today coming from Canada's Environment and Energy Minister, highlighting the climate competitiveness strategy aimed at making this country a leader in the low-carbon economy. But as CTV's Jeremy Sharon reports, some feel the plan falls short on detail.
It's a climate strategy that signals a shifting approach. One aiming to deal with a new global trade landscape rapid technological advancements and a move toward clean energy around the world, says Canada's Environment Minister.
This strategy connects our climate ambition with a plan for economic growth. It prioritizes measures that deliver the greatest emissions reductions and increases competitiveness at the lowest cost for Canadians.
But the framework is short on details and provides no update on where Canada stands on emissions reduction targets.
This climate competitiveness strategy, when we look at what Canada was doing prior, actually brings us back.
But the government says the plan had to change.
Energy and the environment must go hand in hand.
But balancing environmental ambitions and aspirations for new conventional energy projects will be a challenge. The strategy indicates an emissions cap on oil and gas could be dropped if other measures to cut pollution go ahead, a move industry has long called for.
It's helpful, but it's not anywhere close to providing a level of certainty that companies are going to look for before they're going to invest in things.
Still, the Prime Minister signaled Friday a new pipeline project is going to happen, but his energy minister stopped short of confirming that today.
I learned a long time ago not to get ahead of my boss. There is agreement between the federal government and the Alberta government. We need to continue working on that. Those discussions are live. I will let my boss and the Premier of Alberta decide when they're ready to share the details of that with the public.
It is expected the Prime Minister will announce a second round of nation-building projects this week. Heather?
CTV's Jeremy Sharon in Ottawa tonight. Canadian industries like the forestry sector hurt by U.S. tariffs were looking to this week's federal budget for solutions or additional support. CTV's Sarah Plowman on their concerns.
When your biggest customer causes pain, you feel it a lot. U.S. tariffs and duties on softwood lumber sit at 45%, and the president has threatened to add more. Some mills have had to cut back or close, so Canada's forestry sector was definitely looking to the federal budget for relief.
We saw ourselves in this budget. It's just such a crisis moment for our sector and for our people right now. It's tough to be overly optimistic.
The Carney government's budget included a previously promised support package, $1.25 billion with hundreds of millions in loan guarantees and help to diversify markets. The budget also committed to using Canadian lumber in construction and expanded an investment tax credit to include biomass. Money to support the industry has started to flow. Ottawa says hundreds of millions of dollars in financing is already in the pipeline. But the Forest Products Association of Canada is hearing some companies aren't able to access it.
So that's something we need to dig into to better understand, to see if government can make a pivot there with the banks.
The industry's top priority is a trade deal with the U.S. The Premier of New Brunswick wants this sector to be first on the list in negotiations.
And then our industries here need more than just loan guarantee support. We want to make sure that when they talk about expanding and diversifying markets, that is money that's going to be out the door tomorrow.
At a summit in Vancouver last week, Ottawa agreed to set up a task force with BC, pledging more support for forestry.
Obviously too tight to the budget to be reflected there, but we're looking for that from the federal government.
The head of Unifor thinks the Build Canada Homes program will bring a boost, and the support package is crucial, but is calling for a coordinated national strategy bringing government, industry, and unions together.
We really believe that this is essential to making sure we can weather this crisis.
Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
Parts of Canada have already experienced an early taste of winter, and today Ontario and Quebec received their first snowfall of the season.
I'm wearing about 3 layers, top and bottom, so I just feel pretty invincible.
People were happy to get out in Toronto despite the early blast of winter. The snowfall also sparking a rush to get those snow tires on. Snow also hitting the Montreal area as well as the nation's capital, which is expected to get between 10 and 20 centimeters before it's all over. As temperatures drop and the first snow flies, Saskatoon has opened its seasonal warming centers, and the demand is rising. But as CTV's Alison Bamford shows us, finding locations for the service is becoming harder every year.
The doors of this overnight warm-up center don't open for another couple of hours, but already people are huddled up waiting to get in.
It's just a warm, safe place to be.
The Salvation Army says demand for shelter in the city grows gradually each year. The Saskatoon Fire Department counted more than 1,200 encampments as of September 1st and cleaned up over 300 of them. In all of last year, crews cleared 218. Gordon Taylor says it's an indication drop-in center numbers could be up again this winter.
When we opened on Monday night, we had 30 guests. It's gradually increased already through the first week. Last night we had 70. So we'll see how that trends and continues to go in the days ahead.
Finding space for some of the most vulnerable is complicated and a challenge every fall. Just this week, Saskatoon City Council scrambled to find this temporary location for its women-only warm-up center.
There are not a lot of options. No one necessarily wants to provide their facility for a use such as this.
The province provides operational funding and in September announced $3 million in new money to have drop-in shelters open year-round in Saskatoon. Plans are far from finalized, but the Social Services Minister says it's not up to the province to decide on locations.
What the ministry can do is try to ensure that that process happens in an expedient manner.
Between the city's two warm-up centers, Taylor says they should be able to meet demand for now, hoping future year-round services address some of the challenges.
We need to do better long-term planning to have things solved year to year rather than each year.
And in the meantime, he says they'll do what they can to help those in need. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Saskatoon.
We're hearing tonight from a young Canadian woman sharing a frustrating ordeal after being denied entry into the U.S. She was on her way to visit her grandparents in Florida when border agents at Toronto's Pearson Airport refused to let that happen. CTV's Adrian Gabriel explains.
A controversial decision at U.S. Customs has left one 20-year-old stranded and her family fuming.
It felt like a bit of an abuse of power.
On Monday, her bag packed, 20-year-old Julia, whose family asked we not share her last name, arrived at Toronto's Pearson Airport U.S. Customs pre-clearance counter. Valid Canadian passport in hand, she waited an hour and a half in line before meeting a customs officer who began to ask her questions.
They thought it was suspicious, I guess, and decided to flag me and bring me to a different room.
Julia had a round-trip ticket booked with Porter Airlines to visit her grandparents in Orlando, Florida, just as she had done in February.
I was starting to hyperventilate a bit, and then they tell me that I'm denied entrance to America. They thought that I was illegally immigrating to the United States.
Julia, do you have any intentions of immigrating to the United States?
No, I did not.
U.S. immigration takes their orders from the top. And when there's a more anti-immigrant sentiment in the country, they have all the tools to use their discretion in a negative manner.
This Homeland Security checklist, completed by a U.S. Customs officer, claims that Julia didn't provide proof of a return ticket home.
I told them that I had a return ticket, and I told them the return date.
Customs also requested proof of employment and schooling in Canada, but the 20-year-old is currently unemployed and on a break from school until the spring.
The story is a true story and makes sense for that cohort, but U.S. immigration is suspicious and they get full discretion to decide how they're going to respond.
Kate, why is it important for you to share your daughter's story with Canadians?
I hope that other people aren't going to face this. If our story helps any family avoid this, I think, a lot of people are boycotting travel to the U.S. and I'm all for it.
Immigration lawyers we spoke with say Canadians are now being asked more frequently to provide additional proof of their travel plans when arriving at U.S. Customs. Heather.
Thank you, Adrian. CTV's Adrian Gabriel at Pearson Airport. Coming up, an excruciating wait.
If I wouldn't have left the hospital, I would have been dead because after 8 hours, no one had checked my vitals.
Why this woman is sharing her painful personal story of a life-threatening experience. A Manitoba woman is speaking out tonight about her experience at a Winnipeg hospital, sharing what she calls a life-threatening ordeal and an excruciating wait in the ER. CTV's Alex Carpa has her story.
Harriet Burkle was hospitalized for over a month at the beginning of 2024.
It happened so fast.
On the morning of December 31st, 2023, Burkle was taken to Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre by ambulance after not feeling well. She was triaged and put on a gurney, but proceeded to wait and wait and wait, getting no help for hours.
For 8 hours, I lay on that gurney, and no one checked my vitals. I'm starting to get worried. I'm feeling worse and worse.
Burkle knew she had to take matters into her own hands. She left the hospital, went home, called a second ambulance, returned to the hospital, and found out she had sepsis and only had 2 hours to live.
If I wouldn't have left the hospital, I would have been dead, because after 8 hours, no one had checked my vitals.
Manitoba's Shared Health said HSC is actively working to improve patient flow and reduce wait times. Last week, a triage nurse who CTV News agreed not to identify over fears of repercussions said they are surprised more people haven't died while waiting in emergency and admits the situation will worsen if nothing is done to change it.
This has been a chronic issue that's been compounding over time.
Nick Casper, who himself is a firefighter, says hospital delays are also taking a toll on frontline staff.
Our members are sitting with stable, low acuity healthcare patients for hours at a time. And when I say hours, I mean, half a day.
It's surreal.
As for Burkle, she says her story should send a warning to others.
You really strongly have to advocate for yourself.
And her advocating for herself in a time of distress was a decision that saved her life. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
At least 2 people are dead and 1 million others evacuated as a powerful typhoon, Feng Wang, makes landfall in the Philippines. The massive storm slammed regions with winds up to 185 kilometers per hour and torrential rain. This follows another strong typhoon just days ago that left at least 200 people dead and more than 100 others missing. Satellite images show the sheer destruction of a town in southern Brazil after a tornado swept through the area this weekend. Building after building reduced to rubble. At least 6 people have been killed and more than 750 others injured by the tornado that packed wind speeds reaching 250 kilometers an hour. 2 Major League Baseball pitchers are finding themselves embroiled in a betting scandal tonight. Cleveland Guardians pitchers Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz are alleged to have taken bribes to throw particular pitches and ensure bets placed on them paid off. An indictment unsealed today claims the duo took thousands of dollars from 2 gamblers. Among the charges, the pair face conspiracy, wire fraud, and money laundering. Still ahead tonight, what it would take for stranded beluga whales to find a new home on the East Coast. The fate of dozens of beluga whales stranded at a shuttered Ontario amusement park continues to spark controversy ever since Ottawa denied a request to sell them to an aquarium in China. There could be a solution on the East Coast, but as CTV's Garrett Berry explains, that comes with its own challenges.
The situation is dire at the former Marineland amusement park in Niagara Falls. A former trainer says pools are falling apart, animals are playing with concrete debris, and they should be removed immediately. The future of those animals is murky after Ottawa denied a permit to have the whales exported to China. But the small Newfoundland town of Burgeo is ready to help.
We feel the bay that we have there is well sheltered. It offers, deep waters as well as shallow waters, easily accessible.
Green says his town could take about 10 beluga whales and give them a good life in an enclosed but natural environment, provided it can access financial support.
We have a few third parties that are looking to help with this financially. Obviously, it's a huge financial undertaking in itself.
A second proposal for a sanctuary in Port Hilford Bay in Nova Scotia is even further along, having acquired a lease for Crown land from their provincial government.
Yes, it's ambitious. It takes a lot of money, but it's actually less money than any park would spend to build a new tank.
But according to a marine mammal expert, these proposals both face steep obstacles.
I like your comparison of a moonshot.
A mass relocation of animals like this has never quite happened before. You need infrastructure to regularly access and care for the animals, Even then, they may not adapt well.
Even if we say all of this has been solved, we still have no idea how it's going to work out. So it's an experiment.
Both of the proposed whale sanctuaries say they may be able to accept animals next summer. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Still ahead, beyond the battlefield. The veteran whose legacy proves service comes in many forms.
We will never forget your bravery, your strength, your sacrifice.
The very best and bravest of our nation, these heroic souls stood on guard for freedom.
Join the CTV News team and me as Canada comes together to remember.
Remembrance Day 2025, Tuesday morning at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on CTV.
Finally, for us tonight, a story of service and sacrifice you may not have heard before. This one belongs to a 103-year-old veteran who will be attending the National Remembrance Day ceremony. Elmer Friesen was far from the battlefield, but as CTV's Kathy Lee explains, he played a crucial role in Canada's war effort, boosting morale at home.
I would have been 20, 21.
Clad in his Royal Canadian Air Force uniform is a young man ready to answer the call of the Second World War.
I thought, oh boy, I'm going overseas. I really wanted to go.
But instead, the new recruit was assigned as a leading aircraft man, stationed in Skeduk, New Brunswick, doing small repairs and sometimes big projects.
We got a Hawker Hurricane, a single-seater fighter plane, and we got it as in kits. And we put it all together, and I did the electrical work on it.
The sparks and circuits kept Elmer Friesen busy for a year and a half, until his service took a musical turn.
I was always singing. Wherever I went, I was always singing.
When he was recruited into an entertainment group.
We did variety shows, two of them, and we also did Gilbert and Sullivan Opera. We performed in Moncton and Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island.
Friesen wasn't overseas, but his role at home was just as crucial, lifting spirits of civilians as wartime tension grew.
It was really good to see the reception that we got when we did entertain them. I know that it took some relief out of their concerns.
He would go on to perform for another year or so. And while the curtain has long since fallen, the melodies never really left.
Take me out to the ball game.
At 103, his voice may be softer, but the echo of his service remains. Proof that duty isn't always measured in combat, but sometimes it's measured in music. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Service comes in many forms. That is our newscast. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Sandy and Omar will be here tomorrow, and I'll see you again on Friday. Good night.